Yo, what's up? Today, I want to show you a fight from Middleweight Mayhem 2021. This is one of the better fights from the tournament, and I got a fancy new little thing that lets me draw fun little things on the screen. So, you can make quality thumbnails, if you will. But yeah, that's what's gonna be happening this time around. So our first bot, NERV Agent from Team Remarkable, very good team. This time around, angled horizontal spinner. In Heavyweight Havoc 2021, they had a vert and a control bot. This time they have a horizontal. Very hard hitting robot, as you can see. 4-wheel drive for a horizontal. That's not the most common thing that you see, but for this one, it works pretty well. That's pretty much it. Fun fact about this bot: it's teamed after Evangelion. So that's based. Our next robot, actually let me just do that real quick. It's a bit loud on my end. I'm not sure how it's gonna be on the video. I don't really care how it's gonna be on the video. And this is our second bot. I'm just gonna wait until it gets to the front so I can get a good angle for the pose. There you go. So this is our second bot, Farewell. I'm doing this without any sort of preparation. By the way, I watched the fight once before to at least roughly know what's happening, but whatever. I just wanted to show you this fight because this fight is awesome and I think people should check this out. So, Farewell. Tread bot, so it's very heavy. Treads get a block bonus on BesiegeBots, so if you build treads, you have more blocks to spend on your robots. It's kind of like how the shuffler bonus is IRL. Yes, that also works in Besiege. Shufflers also get a block bonus. Basically, you get block bonus if your bot moves with not wheels or just props, because that doesn't count for a block bonus, which is very fair. You could make a bot that goes very fast with props and it would cost not a lot of blocks. It would be a bit busted if those got weight bonus. But this is Farewell. Vertical spinner from Team Pilot Light. Very heavy, very strong in the front. However, since it's a tread bot, it's also just one stack drive, so not very fast. And since treads, it doesn't have a lot of grip. Okay, so that's the weakness of this kind of bots. You might be big, you might be heavy, but you can get outpushed very, very easily. Okay. I'm still on the volume there. Okay, let's see. Fight is starting. And here we go. So first, right away, I want to mention, NERV Agent is spinning this direction. Farewell, obviously, vertical spinner, spinning this direction. So those are two things that we will have to keep a note of as this fight goes on. And right there, something immediately happened that is worth taking a look at. So NERV Agent is spinning this direction, right? It's a horrible arrowhead, but it's spinning that direction. And it hit Farewell around here. That is a hit delivered to Farewell, so isn't that good, right? Well, okay, but since NERV Agent spins this direction, it's gonna get thrown from here this way. And what is this way from the square that it hit? The weapon of Farewell, which is, spinning up very, very fast because it's a vertical spinner with smaller diameter than NERV Agent's weapon, so it has the advantage in RPMs. And the front plow on Farewell did a very good job of deflecting that hit from NERV Agent, launching it off to the right into its weapon. So what NERV Agent really should be doing here is aiming for this. Specifically for the outer corner here. There's a very, very big catch point here. There's just nothing here. You can just reach behind that plow and catch it. If I were driving this fight, in 2021 I was not very good at the game. This was my second tournament. But if I was driving this fight as current me, with my current knowledge of the game, I would try as hard as I can to reach around this corner here. And maybe even get to this tread, because it's exposed. There's no protection there. The spike balls on the tread don't really mean a lot of protection. Those are only there, so even if the bot loses the tread itself, right, so the brown hinges, if the bot loses those, you can still drive on the spike balls because they would hit the ground. It's a bit of a cheap tactic, but it works valve for ThreadBots, and they're very block effective. I don't recommend doing it because you could just straight up have threads that don't fall off if you build ThreadBots right enough, which, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, but, you know, you use ball threads as a bit of a cheap move, you know. But if you use double-sided threads, you can armor it a lot better, so they're not going to get hit. And I think personally that that kind of threads straight up looks really, really nice and a lot better than just spike ball threads shown on Farewell there. So the result of that exchange was NERV Agent lost a wheel. Motor is still fine, takes a while to spin up. And there you go, that's exactly what I meant. NERV Agent hit the left side of Farewell and bounced out of the way of the weapon. And they go in for a hit again, but as you can see, Farewell loses a thread. That is one of the things that can happen. Let's go back and take a look at that. What happens? So as Farewell hit them up, I'm not sure if it breaks after landing. No, it breaks when Farewell hits NERV Agent up, and NERV Agent's weapon comes around and clips the end of the thread, breaking the spike ball off. I think that's the amount of the spike ball. Yeah. Breaks the spike ball off, which makes the thread loose, and then it just falls off. Something else that happened. It's another one of a similar thing that I mentioned just a moment ago. NERV Agent hit around here. Should be a decent hit, and it was, except for the part where Farewell managed to hit the back of NERV Agent's weapon. So NERV Agent spinning this direction, right? Managed to hit. Oh, sorry, it wasn't the back of the weapon. I said back of the weapon, but NERV Agent spins this direction, so the weapon would be coming in like that into that front support. And when it came through that front support, I'm assuming at least, Farewell hit somewhere on the weapon bar itself, which then resulted in NERV Agent going flying. And then also, I believe that wheel was lost purely because of the weapon flexing on NERV Agent. Let's take a look at that one more time. Yes, it was. That's exactly what happened. Okay, I did get it right. And the same thing as the first hit that I highlighted there. The same, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but it's more of a calculated risk. Because if you go for that type of hit, to choose to go for this, when your weapon is spinning this way, horrible arrowheads. When your weapon is spinning this way and you go for this part, it's a calculated risk because you could do a lot of damage here. You could rip this whole front straight out if the other bot is weak enough for that. However, hits like what just happened there, once again, can happen. And NERV Agent currently upside down. It lost its Southwriter in that hit, but since it's an angled horizontal, it can spin still, and maybe the spinner would knock it back. But they decide to drive over to the bounce plate, which in this arena was a very good way of Southwriting. And the same type of hit that I mentioned earlier happened once more. Now, here's a big thing for Farewell. They lost that thread on the right side of the bot, but what does that mean exactly? Well, they're a lot slower now than with both threads on. And if it's a lot slower, there you go, NERV Agent can get that type of hit where Farewell is just not quick enough to angle into the hit. And there goes another thread off of Farewell. Just a clean hit, right? NERV Agent was just in the right position to do that. Southwriter is completely off of NERV Agent now. NERV Agent receiving chassis damage there. But let's see once again, right? What I mentioned, same thing. Hits here, bounces directly into the weapon of Farewell. This can be happening for multiple reasons. Here, Farewell's weapon is big enough to reach forward on a bounce like that. So you can see Farewell just angled forward on a hit, right? The back of the bot left the ground, the front came down and got that hit on NERV Agent. That is intentional design on this robot, because if it hits something, it will just go down, right? Because for weapons like what Farewell has, we use counter gyros. Counter gyros would mean if you spin up the weapon this way, right? It's just gonna force your bot into the ground on the front because of the torque of the weapon. So this is sometimes a very useful feature. This is what you're seeing right here. Farewell just does not have counter gyros. That's why it hit NERV Agent there, and the front of the bot was forced into the ground. It came off balance a little bit, but it hit Farewell. It hit NERV Agent precisely because of that. Because the bot was off balance. There is no balance of the torque of the weapon. The torque of the weapon sends the front down, and the weapon almost comes down on NERV Agent, almost like a hammer saw, but the entire robot tilted, not just an arm that houses the weapon. NERV Agent there, the bar got stuck in the chassis, and that's a very lucky hit for NERV Agent there, landing on the weapon motor of Farewell, as you can see right there. Not sure if it broke, I don't think it did, it may have, but that was a very lucky hit for NERV Agent, and they hit the side with both of the spike balls there. That would be really good for NERV Agent to go for, because the less spike balls there are, the less mobile Farewell will become over time. And there you go, that's what I mean. Another hit on the left side of Farewell, and that right there was what I mentioned about a lot of risk reward with going for that type of hit, as you can see. So NERV Agent is coming, weapon spinning like this, aims for this inner plow right here. And since NERV Agent was aiming directly for that, it would pull the bot apart, right? This place, this half right here would stay there because that's not getting hit. However, the other half of the bot, since it's getting hit in this square somewhere, would be pulled to the left, which will result in, as you can see, big hit, and Farewell's weapon's broken. It once again did the same thing. It leaned a little forward, kicked NERV Agent up, but that hit was precise enough to break Farewell's weapon completely. And there was another hit where NERV Agent did get kicked back, but it pulled that front wedge apart even more. And now Farewell will be having a lot harder of a time hitting NERV Agent up because the weapon on Farewell has become so floppy. This is what I mean, right? That would have been a much bigger hit if the two halves of the motor were still together. And it's not just the fact that the weapon flexes a lot, it's also the fact that it's only half power now. And as you can see there, the weapon's completely gone now. This is a very weird looking frame to stop it on, but it got tangled in NERV Agent's chassis, and the weapon bar on NERV Agent spins around and hits directly. The camera switch was exactly at the wrong time. And see what I'm gonna say here. It hit directly in the line here, where the weapon attaches to Farewell. It just came around and hit right there, which ended up, the weapon was already stuck inside of NERV Agent's chassis. But since NERV Agent got thrown completely off angle and up into Farewell, the bar was still stuck. So Farewell was trying to spin a bar that was completely stuck, and NERV Agent's weapon came around and hit directly into the line where it's attached to the motors. It ended up breaking that connection, and the bar is out. NERV Agent got very lucky there, because if that bar kept stuck inside of its chassis, that would have meant that they would have a very hard time moving. And they're down two wheels, but it's on opposite drive sides, so they're still fully drivable. I'm not sure if their weapon is broken at all for NERV Agent. I don't think it is. But as you can see, Farewell barely mobile now, since the treads are gone, the weapon is gone. Sure, it can still glide around, but that's all it can do really. And as you can see on the front there of Farewell, it's a bit broken. So Nerve Agent actually managed to hit behind this plow. Of course, since it's spinning this direction, right? It managed to come in and hit behind this plow, which ended up breaking a couple of connections. That's why that front plow is a bit not as it used to be when the fight started. Of course, Farewell and Nerve Agent both taken quite a bit of damage already. And there you go, that's a plow off from the other side of Farewell, which, you know, was just the result of Nerve Agent spinning this way and hitting into there. I believe what happened there, because in BesiegeBots, a lot of the times, right, you have weapons like this. Nerve Agent weapon, very thin. Same for Farewell, but it's Nerve Agent that got the hit here. So it's a very thin weapon. It might have gone right through the edge plow, the dark blue plow on Farewell, that one. It might have gone right through that and bitten the light blue plow, from the inside and pulled it out. That is a very possible thing to happen. Or there was a seam between the two plows. A lot of the better builders focus on anti-horizontal setups that have zero seams between the plows. Very hard to do that, but it is definitely possible. And if you do that, then obviously it will decrease the chance of hits like that happening. Of course, now it's 4 years later than this footage, so bots look a little bit different. Drivers got a lot better over that time. And, you know, tech just overall improved in BesiegeBots. But this is one of the things that is still very much valid. If you want to avoid hits like that, try to make your anti-horizontal setup as seamless as you possibly can. That is a very big thing. And since there's one plow missing, there's one hell of a bigger gap for Nerve Agent to come in, right, and hit this side of the bot once again. But there used to be a plow here, remember? Makes the gap just this. But now, there's a huge gap that Nerve Agent can just go right into. And there's half a minute left of the fight. Nerve Agent, a lot of damage there. The weapon is still functional, but the supports actually, as you see, there's a... Oh, sorry, we need to go back a little bit more. Yeah, as you can see, right there. I skipped too much, I think. Yes, after this set, the weapon just flops over. That happens because Nerve Agent uses a free chain type of structure. So, excuse my horrible drawing skills, this is the weapon motor. There's a solid connection here that goes back to the chassis. And then there's a spin block chain right here, and it's symmetrical on both sides. So spin block chains here. Spin blocks very strong, very good, very widely used for spinner supports. Nowadays a little bit less because we've gotten a bit better at building these. But this is one of the things that was, I would say, the meta in 2021. So it's a free chain type of structure. But what happened? Why is it like that? Well, as you can see, this connection is broken, and so is this connection. But chain is still there, just the connection to the motor directly. And since spin blocks are free spinning, at least in applications like this, right? You don't want that spin block to have power. You want those to be free spinning. Because if it's not free spinning, it's going to be putting constant torque on your chassis, and you don't want that. Here, free spinning spin blocks. So the fact that this connection here is a free spinning connection, it means the motor can just flop around side to side on the axis of that spin block. That is why Nerve Agent's weapon is tilted like that to the side. It still functions, it's still spinning. As you can see there, they're trying to get it unstuck so they can drive properly, and they do right there. So Nerve Agent can't really use its weapon anymore because, well, it would either just fall over once again, or even this, fall over in a way that it would do damage to the rest of Nerve Agent's chassis, which, reminder, already has taken quite a lot of damage from those heavy hits from Farewell earlier on, but at this point, Nerve Agent doesn't need the weapon. Farewell, very easy to control there, and that is the fight, and as you can see, Nerve Agent takes the win here. I thought this would be just a very interesting fight to break down for a bit of a demo, I guess, to see. I'm gonna pause the video to break down for a bit of a demo to see how well would this hold up. How well can I just make this? You know, if you're saying this, it's gonna be unlisted at first. I'm gonna show it to a couple of people in BesiegeBots itself, right? And then after that, if this goes okay, maybe I'll make a couple of more public ones. But yeah, this is what I wanted to show off here. I just wanted to show one fight that was really good, and this was one of the best fights of this tournament. So I think this could be a really cool format to do for other really good fights, highlight matches, weird things that happen during tournaments. I think this could work pretty well for it. So yeah, that's it. Goodbye.